What's going on there, buddy? Hope you're all having a fantastic day. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the other day some news dropped for Splitgate 2 regarding the development team 1047. I gotta be honest with you guys. It's not the best news I was expecting to hear. So, of course, we're going to go ahead, sit down, discuss all the details. I'm going to try to cover both sides of the story here, and hopefully we can have a decent discussion down in the comment section below. But, of course, ladies and gentlemen, before we go and dive deep, if you guys are interested in more content just like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell. I post here daily at 8 in the morning Eastern Time. And, of course, if you guys are interested in my live streams, I stream Monday through Saturday. And actually, today on Sunday is going to be an oddball stream, so we will be live 2 days. So if you guys want to hop on in, join the open lobbies, or even just chat it up with me, you can find a link to that channel down in the description of this video. Alright, so ladies and gentlemen, as I was saying before, some news came out for Splitgate 2, but it's honestly not the best of news. Ladies and gentlemen, there were some layoffs that happened at 1047 Games. Again, the team working on Splitgate 2 here. And they actually went ahead and put up a post over on LinkedIn, so I can go ahead and showcase that to you guys. Today, we parted ways with a small group of Value 1047 Games team members. We are still perfecting the Splitgate 2 gameplay experience in response to the community feedback, and we are redirecting resources to build the best game for our players. We are sad to see our teammates go, and we are actively working to help them secure new opportunities. Further, our co-founders, Ian and Nicholas, have opted to not take salaries as we lock in to deliver the next phase of the project. Thank you to those who have built alongside us. We are sad to say goodbye and would not be here without you. To everyone who is playing Splitgate 2, we are continuing to work hard to deliver more things we know you'll love. We are committed to building this game for the long haul. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I gotta be completely honest with you guys. Hearing that people are getting laid off isn't the most, harsh concept that could possibly be presented to us. Not at all, It's kind of typical for a lot of these games when they go into full launch to cut a decent amount of the developers, because a lot of the times these companies either hire people who are on a contract and, they're timed, and once that contract is up, they gotta leave. And B, they'll hire people on board to help them with the crunch time to push out the game. And then after the game is launched, they don't need that many team members, right? I mean, think of Call of Duty for an example. A lot of the time when they put out a game like Black Ops 6, for example, the whole team isn't there, right? The whole team is working on Black Ops 6 beforehand. They're prepping it up, they're getting it ready. And then when Black Ops 6 drops, it's a skeleton team that goes ahead and maintains the game, keeps content pumping out, so on and so forth, while the rest of the team is either, on break or getting prepped up for the next Call of Duty game. Who knows what they're doing? But again, as I stated, it's common practice for people to go ahead and do so. But, like I stated, if you go ahead and look into this post here, it's not looking too good. First and foremost, I know there's probably, some people like maybe play testers. And I also heard that maybe the person who writes scripts and stuff like that got cut out of the picture, which makes sense. Again, it's no campaign. How many scripts do you realistically need for these 3 specialists who have already been put together? And do we really need playtesters at this point in time? Again, realistically, all they got to do is just polish off a few things here and there, but the overall game works great. It's in an awesome spot. So a lot of these spots are realistic, and also these roles are also cut in other development teams, so it's pretty common. But then I saw this post by Blaze over on Twitter saying, "Got caught in the wave of layoffs today. I'm not in a rush to find work, but open to consulting in the meantime. If I can add value to your game, let's chat. Level design, game design, UGC tools, wherever you want my mind, I'll find a rate that works for the scope of your game." And for those who don't know, Blaze actually went ahead and put together a ton of the awesome maps within Splitgate 2. So, obviously, as you can see here, it's not just people who, like I said, are play testing or writing scripts. There's actual valuable people who are getting kind of stripped from the team right now. And then pair that with what they said in the post over on LinkedIn, where they stated that the CEOs are not going to be taking a salary at all right now while they go ahead and try to progress Splitgate 2. That doesn't sound good either, if I'm going to be honest with you. As I stated, if none of this stuff came up, and they just said, yeah, we got to let a few people go, so on and so forth. Like I said, I wouldn't really think too negatively of it. But seeing all these other pieces of the puzzle fit together where, as I stated, we have some awesome, map designers being cut, and also the CEOs are not taking a check, it makes it seem like Splitgate 2 did not perform the way that they wanted it to go ahead and perform, which means that they got to go ahead and take some drastic measures and do some serious cuts. But ladies and gentlemen, I do want to go ahead and say this, because I don't want this whole video to just seem so doom and gloom and, the world is ending and Splitgate 2 is over with, because that's not the case whatsoever. As I stated, this is already a common industry practice, and although it sucks to see Blaze have to leave, after putting together so many awesome maps, from what I can see, like I said, on surface level, it looks horrible. But once you dig a little bit deeper, it doesn't seem as bad as it turns out to be. Again, like I said, Blaze might have been the only one who was actually making maps within Splitgate 2. As I stated, a lot of the other work was play testers, scripts, so on and so forth, work that doesn't really necessarily need to be paid for. And as much as it sucks to see them go, and as much as it sucks to, lose your job, in all reality, if there's no work to be done in that field, I mean, they're probably not going to go ahead and keep that work. And as I stated, if you dig a little bit deeper, it seems that a lot of these developers were basically almost partially aware that this was going to happen. It's not like it's taken anybody by shock. It's not like it's destroying anybody's, outlook on their future. It genuinely seems like, behind the scenes, they already knew what was happening and they were discussing these things together, because there's no bad blood between any of the people who've been laid off and also the developers at 1047. And I'm also extremely happy to see that the CEOs are indeed going to be helping everybody who got laid off find new work, find more job opportunities, and get them back into the field, which really makes me think that these developers, again, didn't get laid off because, they simply couldn't really afford the developers anymore. I'm sure they already had a budget in mind. When they got that cash, a lot of people think, oh, $100 million to put together Splitgate 2. No, you're a doofus if you think that. That money goes for everything, whether it's the servers, Splitgate 2 putting it together itself, hiring developers, so on and so forth, right? They 1010% planned to hire developers at least for a certain amount of time before they have to seriously crunch and make sure the game is performing and paying them back. And then that's when all crap hits the fan. But I guarantee a few weeks after launch, no, I promise you they probably had a full year's worth of salaries ready to go to make sure that developers could back up this game 1010%. And the fact that they're trying to push for these developers to find new work, to me personally means that, again, they're useful devs. They are fantastic at their jobs, but sadly, they're just not necessarily needed on Splitgate 2 right now. And again, the developers should be more so focused on putting together the project and making sure it's polished than, having extra devs on board that don't really need to do anything just yet for the time being. Sadly, that's just how business works, ladies and gentlemen. Even Marvel Rivals, that game had no drop-off, okay? That game dropped, and it instantly became popular and held that popularity, and they even cut developers the second the game launched. So if a game like Marvel Rivals still cuts developers, you know what I'm saying? Again, it's just a common practice. It hurts. I hate it personally. I hope that Blaze might be able to come back to 1047 later down the road when they're ready to plan more content, because again, you got to keep in mind, they already have a crap ton of content, pre-put together. They have a whole roadmap together here, ladies and gentlemen. They have maps on top of maps on top of maps that they're going to be releasing. And all the developers have to realistically do right now is polish off the game. That's it. That's all I got to do. And when I go ahead and do a little bit of research on top of it, which, is very rare for people to do nowadays, they just look at the Steam charts and instantly think, oh, the game is dead. Look at Steam, Steam this, Steam that. I say the same thing with COD. I don't know why people are so hyper-prioritized on Steam charts. You can look up anywhere and you'll see COD, Warzone, being like the top seller all the time. It's clearly popular on console, but people are still so fixated on Steam. But the same thing over here when it comes to Splitgate. People can't stop getting enough of Steam. They think that the Steam numbers are low, so that's why they have to cut devs. Excuse me, on the PlayStation Store, as you can see right here, it's still the second most downloaded game on PlayStation. On Xbox, it's the second most downloaded game for their free-to-play titles. And of course, since PlayStation, you can't really see what the most played games are. You can actually see it on Xbox. And as you can see right here, I believe it's in the top 20 games that are actually being played right now, which is extremely freaking good for a niche arena shooter. That's actually incredible. So I gotta be honest with you guys, as much as this news might be worrying, and it might sound bad, especially with how all this negative news has been freaking, going along all this time with Splitgate 2. Ever since the game launched, it's been just nothing but negativity surrounding it and the community trying to find any single thing to really tear it down. But personally, although it does sound bad, and I'm really sad to see, Blaze go. I know I said it like 50,000 times, but seriously, the maps in Splitgate 2 are so freaking good that it honestly kills me to see him have to leave. But business is business, and Splitgate 2 doesn't seem to be failing right now at this very moment, in my personal opinion. Now, later down the road, a couple of months down the road, if things are starting to go down a bit on these charts that I showcased, then yeah, maybe things aren't going to be looking too hot. But we'll see. You don't even see the finals on these top lists, yet it's still thriving and very healthy. You don't need to be a top 5 game, ladies and gentlemen, to have a healthy enough audience to go ahead and back it up. The foundation of Splitgate 2 is there. And I know everybody's going to compare it to XDefiant, but XDefiant didn't have that foundation. The netcode was garbage for a very long time. The gameplay was fun. I loved the vision that the developers had, and I pushed through with it every step of the way, and I believed in them. But because they had Ubisoft over them, and they had to go ahead and hit their agendas, because obviously Ubisoft is flopping, and the company isn't doing too hot, all these things together caused the downfall of XDefiant. Whereas Splitgate 2, it's perfection. I mean, this is one of the smoothest running games I have played in a freaking very long time. The only, and I say this very seriously, the only thing they need to do is optimize the game further for last-gen consoles and just continuously keep dropping content alongside adding in ranked and a progression system, which are both planned to be introduced within at least a couple of weeks or so. I think Splitgate 2 is going to be fine. I know all the haters are going to be rejoicing with this news because for some strange reason, people out there prey on the downfall of developers and get a laugh out of people losing their jobs. That's how you can always tell who are the children in the comment section and who are the grown adults. You can tell who the children are because nobody in their right mind would ever pray for someone to have to go through the stresses of having to wonder where their next paycheck is going to come from, having to wonder how they're going to pay for the roof over their head, how they're going to feed their families. Nobody in the world would pray for that, unless you're talking about the CEO of Activision. Screw those a-holes, right? I mean, they already make billions and they're still milking their audience for even more. But anybody else, just your every average day dev, anybody who prays for the downfall of these individuals or even gets a laugh out of this, you are a disgusting individual. Truthfully, you are a disgusting individual. And I really hope that the people around you can, find some peace with your overall attitude because my God, if it were down to me, I don't have people like that in my circle. I would never have people like that in my circle. And family members, I'm lucky that I don't have anybody like that because you just got to simply accept family. But my goodness, I feel awful. That's all I got to say is I feel awful. But ladies and gentlemen, that's all I really have for you guys today. I just wanted to share this information with you guys, and I want to see what you all have to say. Do you think that this is overall bad news for Splitgate 2? Or do you think it's just another day in the business industry and, they just had to handle business, how business is usually handled? Like I stated, it sucks, and I'm sad to see people go. And I would never wish for anybody to lose their jobs. But I'm sure a lot of these individuals already had backup plans in place, especially in the industry that they're working for, The game development scene is very volatile. I mean, you will gain a job and lose a job within months all the time. It's nothing new. So I'm sure a lot of these people going into this project knew exactly that. A lot of people who were going into this project already were on and off of 1047 multiple different times before. So this isn't anything new. Like I said, no hard feelings between the devs and anybody who got laid off. It's just another day, and everybody's moving on with their business. And I'm hoping that, again, the developers can just hunker down, continue to prioritize optimization, pump out some more content, and keep this game rolling. But, ladies and gentlemen, as always, if you enjoyed today's video, leave a like. If you hate it, leave a dislike. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell. I post here daily at 8 morning Eastern Time. And, of course, if you guys are interested in my live streams, I stream Monday through Saturday over on Twitch, starting between 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And, of course, like I said, I am going to be streaming today on Sunday for an oddball stream. So, as always, if you want to tune on in, I got a link to that channel down in the description of this video. But, as always, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you all next one. Peace out.